Hello everyone, welcome back to Beach City CROWS, show where we talk about some of our favorite cartoons. My name's Jackie and I have been watching Steven Universe.
My name's Isaac and I've been watching Haikyuu.
Woo! Isaac's
Stage play.
Yeah, Isaac's actually done with, so just an FYI, we are again in my kitchen due to scheduling problems. Look, me and Isaac have had busy weeks. So we're recording in my kitchen with my dogs again, so prepare for another episode. Hey, but we're not eating chicken this time, so your loss.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Isaac has finished not everything that's animated of Haikyuu because season 4 is airing right now, literally, as we are talking.
Jackie has it open.
I know. So we need to finish this episode so I can watch Haikyuu. But we're going to take our time because we love you guys. So he has instead watched one of the stage plays, which we'll get to that. But in the meantime, I'm assuming we're going to start with Steven Universe.
Steven.
And speaking of long weeks, it's been a couple of long weeks, okay? Since I watched these 10 episodes of Steven Universe, and I took terrible notes because I thought that I was going to be recording sooner than I was. But it's okay, because we'll still have plenty to talk about. So where we left off at with Steven Universe was Off Colors, where, of course, Lars, R.I.P., has perished but been brought back to life thanks to Steven's healing tears, and is now a fantastic pink color.
Fantastic.
Lars' character development has all happened in these last couple episodes, and he is kind of becoming the guy that I think in last episode, actually, I'm talking way too loud. Me looking at how I'm blowing my own eardrums out right now. I think it was actually the last episode we recorded where I talked about how I can picture Lars being a character that I could really get behind because I'm a huge fan of the best friend type character. And Lars has that potential if he would just mature. He matured a lot in the last couple. I mean, not, he's still not like, some wise sage or something like that, but he went so far as to sacrifice himself for gems he didn't even know when it wasn't that long ago when he was leaving Sadie out to die.
Love it.
Love it. So he's changed a lot, and I think it's really interesting. So Lars' head is now actually a portal, the same as Lion. So I'm assuming Lion died at some point, and Steven's mom brought Lion back to life.
With her thighs.
With her thighs.
She has healing thighs.
Why don't we just call this the Thigh Podcast? Where we talk about the thickest thighs in animation. Send us your list of top 10 thickest thighs in animation. We're on Twitter at Beach Crows.
Bye, guys.
Bye. That's the episode. Thanks for listening. The big thing with this episode is that this kind of was the culmination of all of Lars' development, to where Steven could go home through Lars' head, his hair, more or less. And Lars was willing to let Steven go and go home, and Lars would stay with the Off Colors and help them, I guess. I mean, it's definitely a huge change from who he was. I could say without a doubt that Lars, I'm not talking about just the beginning of the series, that's a whole other ballgame, but just the Lars of 10, 15 episodes ago wouldn't have done this. And he's willing to be that guy now, which is great. And I've seen the 9 episodes after that, so I kind of know where it goes, but I was thinking in my head, I hope Lars comes back soon, and I hope that the friendship that is growing between Steven and Lars continues to grow, and Lars continues to mature, and all that stuff. So it was nice to see Lars finally get his due. And of course, Steven goes home. So Steven is no longer out on the run. He's back on Earth. Lars is, however, in space. Space Lars. Why does that sound like Space SARS? Do you remember when SARS was the thing? The SARS virus?
I don't know what SARS is.
Well, that was before your time.
Sounds familiar, but I don't.
You know the coronavirus that's going on right now? It was
in China?
Yeah. Corona? Don't drink it. Anyways, did you see the meme? A scientist is looking, a Chinese is looking at a microscope, and it's oh my god, and then it shows a picture of a bottle of Corona. Here we are laughing about the next plague, and we're
epidemic. We're yeah, that's funny.
Next episode is Dewey Wins, where Steven Universe continues its horrible trend of making me hate the next episode after a series of fantastic episodes. I mean, I was going back and looking at this list, and you're going to hear me wrestling some paper as I go through my notes, but holy crap. From, Dugout kind of started it, even though it was the majority of it I wasn't really a huge fan of. But that started this, huge run of episodes that included Are You My Dad?, Stuck Together, The Trial, and of course Off Colors, this amazing batch of episodes. Phenomenal. I'm watching this thinking Steven Universe has hit its peak. It is amazing. I know it has more to go, but I had that feeling. I was it can, they did it. They figured out what they were doing. They did it. And then I got Dewey Wins. And I understand that there's a place to kind of show the ramifications of what's happening and kind of get into the headspace of these people. But, like, Lars is in space alone. There's an intergalactic threat in the diamonds, which we have now seen. We have seen Steven come face to face with the diamonds, with blue and yellow diamond. We haven't seen white diamond yet, which is really interesting. And we've just had so many questions brought to the forefront these last couple episodes. And then I don't care about Mayor Dewey. Anyways, so Connie's really upset because Steven disappeared without her again. I mean, Connie just really wants to... I think Connie, with Steven being Connie's first friend, she's very attached. And she wants to be there for him and everything. And she doesn't... Connie can't be there for Steven all of the time, even though she wants to be. And she's having difficulty kind of accepting that fact, I think. And it causes some hard feelings. And they're young, so it's complicated. And they're not mature enough to have those conversations yet. And sometimes you need time before you can have those conversations. But the pizza granny... See, this is how... I don't even remember her name. But anyways...
Nana Foy?
Nana Foy is... Again, is that how you pronounce it? So it's Nana. And then the last...
Nana Foy?
The last name is Foy?
I don't
know. Or her
know.
first name is Foy? It's a pizza granny. She decided she's going to run against Mayor Dewey. Because Dewey's kind of an incompetent mayor. I mean, what are you doing? Anyways, you're so bad at being a mayor. Your town is literally 15 people. It's not hard. And Lars is missing. He's in space. And that's the big thing is Dewey acts like everything's okay when really, people are like, hey, we actually are suffering loss. You're kind of, I guess the commentary kind of being, with politicians, sometimes they're disengaged from the truth and disengaged from what regular people are feeling, and Mayor Dewey's disengaged from what's going on in Beach City. We're not playing Frisbee in the house, Yachi. My dog wants to play Frisbee in the house. Anyways, Mayor Dewey actually concedes to Pizza Granny, who's now the new mayor, Nana Foy. So, Mayor Nana Foy. And I don't know what the name... I'd never bothered to learn because he was such an irrelevant character to me. Dewey decides he's going to leave town. And at the end of it, Steven calls Connie to try and reconcile, but it's not happening. Gosh, Connie, get it together. Steven just lost Lars, too. I mean, he's still alive, but he's in space. Like, come on, Actually, Steven should be comforting Sadie.
But, imagine that stress on Steven, Yeah,
he's just a kid, and, he's...
That's something I forget about, that Steven... I don't forget that he's a kid, but I forget that all of this is super stressful and could cause PTSD. All of these things that he's going through. Yeah,
and I agree, and I think that was kind of the main focus of this episode, was sort of the, how this kind of stuff does actually affect people. Because, it's a cartoon show that's dealing with a lot of heavy stuff, and those heavy themes have to have consequences. And the consequences, of course, are going to be horrific for some little kid like Steven. Because Steven is, he's 14 or whatever, but when you're 14, that's a lot to take on. And he's been having to take on this stuff for actually a long time before the show even started. Dealing with the ramifications of who his mom was and everything. So, and then it kind of does put into perspective how the rest of the town is doing, because they're at the epicenter of this intergalactic conflict. Little town of 15 people, and there's only one person at the donut shop now. Come on.
What are they going to do?
They're going to have to close that donut shop down if Sadie gets sick. God, Sadie, don't get sick. We need those donuts. Hey, speaking of which, I still have some of my donut left. I'm going to eat it right now. The next episode titles were wrong, so I'm assuming that anyway, so I'm going to correct them, and if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me. Raising the Barn was the next episode. So Lapis is still, the trauma that she has from being involved in the war is still very present, understandably, and when she finds out about the trial and about Steven and everything, she is very well aware of the fact that the diamonds are going to come to Earth, and she doesn't want to get caught in the middle of it, so she wants to leave. She tells Peridot, apparently, and their dog, Pumpkin, so they're a cute family now. I mean, it's girlfriends and their dog. So she's like, we're going to leave. But luckily they can't find Pumpkin. And I say luckily because that way Peridot and Steven can kind of have their little moment where, Peridot's big thing is I think we've talked about this before a little bit. Peridot, of course, came from inside Gem Society. And she was a little, almost, she kind of believed in it, and that was the only thing that she knew, which makes sense if that's the only lifestyle you've ever had. Now she has this freedom, and I think she pictures herself to be, maybe we didn't talk about this on podcast, maybe we've talked about it off podcast. She kind of pictures herself to be a little rebel. And she kind of takes pride in that fact, you know, like, oh, look at me, I'm doing something different and unique. But she has definitely, at the same time, the reason why she did that in the first place was that she believes in life, and she believes in the life that's on Earth, and she finds it as something precious. As someone who has a scientific mind, it's unique to her, it's interesting to her, compared to the Gem Society, which is really just bland. There isn't any organic life in Gem Society. That's what starts this journey for her into becoming who she is now, which is a lot more free-spirited and stuff. And she has a hard time, because Peridot hasn't experienced any of that kind of trauma, hasn't really experienced war, hasn't experienced that level of destruction necessarily. The biggest thing that she had to face was the cluster, which didn't amount to anything, as I've complained about many times. So she is having a very hard time understanding where Lapis is coming from. But Lapis is so set in her ways that she straight up just takes the barn and leaves.
She's like, all right, peace.
Peace. Now Peridot's homeless, but not, because she goes to the bathroom. And my favorite, it's actually my background, I will post it on the Twitter. It's actually that's Ushijima's face. It is actually...
Like, wait,
I forgot I was watching IQ. It is actually my background on my desktop, and it literally looks like she partied too hard and passed out in the bathtub, and it is my favorite thing on the whole planet, and the aesthetic of it is beautiful. So that was, anyways. Moral of the story is that it's interesting that there's that two separate, the two separate viewpoints on it, and it's very understandable where both are coming from. Peridot hasn't experienced it yet, so she can't, even if someone explains it to you, it's not the same of actually having experienced it. You can never comprehend that. But Lapis, she understandably doesn't want to go through that, and is not going to take no for an answer, and is going to protect herself. Which is just unfortunate because, and I'm sure their friendship will come back around, but their friendship is such a unique one in the Steven Universe world. So it was fun watching it grow, and this is sort of their first hurdle that I think I'm sure they'll overcome at some point. So next episode was Gemcation. So Steven is having not a good time instead of a good time. And he won't talk to anyone about it. Steven, you gotta talk to people about your problems. Just talk about it. So Greg decides that they need to go on a vacation, so he rents a house. Amethyst, Pearl, and Garnet all go with them. Oh, I think Peridot went too.
Pearl?
I didn't say Peril.
Peridot?
I didn't say Pearl already? Amethyst, Garnet, Pearl, and I think Peridot went. Lapis didn't, because she fucked off with the barn. Amethyst tries to help Steven. It's awkward, which was the good thing with this scene, I think, is it went to show how the roles have changed. Amethyst has really, not a lot, but quite a bit, anyways, matured, and she is kind of taking on more of a big sister role rather than a little sister role in Steven's life. But at the same time, he's not necessarily going to open up to her. So far, he doesn't seem to want to open up to anyone. But I do think that was huge, that was that moment for them, and for the unique friendship that they have as well. But everyone tries to give it a go, and no, Steven won't say anything, but he actually overhears them talking, because they think something happened in space, which, to be fair, a lot of things happened in space. You think nothing happened? He went to Gem Homeworld for the first time, had to face 2 of the diamonds, was put on trial for murdering Pink Diamond. His friend died right in front of him. How fucking horrific is that? Yeah, he brought him back to life, but he's still out there in space. He might as well be dead. Anyways, so he finally decides that when Pearl goes out to talk to him, that he just kind of blurts out that actually what's been bothering him has been his relationship with Connie. Girl trouble.
Girl.
I'm not much of a shipper, but I ship Steven and Connie. Steven and Connie's relationship is a really strong one. But at the end of the day, everyone has difficulties in their relationships. And especially, think about the load that's put on these 2 kids. They're not worried about just getting their homework done. Well, Steven doesn't even have homework. But Connie has to worry about getting her homework done and taking care of Steven. And, all the other pressures that are on her. And Steven has, all of the trauma that he's been through and all of the questions that he's had about his life and about the world around him. It's a lot for these 2 kids to deal with. So, of course, they're going to have issues, and they're still at a point in their maturity where they don't know how to have those conversations with each other. It was kind of a weird episode, but I see what they're going with, it's not that it was a weird episode. It was just, it showed the changing dynamic, and Steven is trying to take on a lot himself. Steven is trying really hard to kind of, he thinks he needs to take all this on his own, which he doesn't, and he needs to realize that he has this amazing family unit that's around him that really wants to help him, and they're not going to judge him. And I think it's a good lesson for a lot of kids out there, too, that might be struggling with stuff. Something like, if you're having girl troubles like Steven is, go talk to someone about it. There's people out there that are willing to listen. And it's just, even if you don't think they are, or you think that issue is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, Steven needs to realize that his relationship with Connie, at the end of the day, is just as important as the well-being of the entire universe. It's, because without that relationship, without those relationships that we have with each other, then none of it matters. Lapis yeeting herself out of there, straight up yoked herself out, was not the right way to handle the situation, because she broke her relationships with those people. So now what's the point, I think it's kind of interesting how they had those two themes sort of back to back. What do you have to say about Gemcation?
I thought it kind of felt like filler, even though it wasn't.
Savage. Ooh, I didn't drop the F word this time. It was Isaac.
Although, that being said, I love the backgrounds. I love the location of where they're at. I thought it was a nice, kind of a slower episode. And diving more into... This is the thing I like about Steven Universe, is on slower episodes, they have that ability to hone in on a character's emotion and how they're dealing with stuff. And I really like that they can take a whole episode and kind of see, okay, where's Steven at? Where's Connie at? Where's Amethyst? Anyone.
Next episode was back to the kindergarten.
Yes!
So, Peridot is depressed because she does not have her roommate anymore, and she's still slugging it out in that bathroom. Steven and Amethyst decide to try and cheer her up, and what's interesting about this trio is that this trio's been around for a long time, and I love that, it makes sense in a way, because it's like the three different, versions of young kids, in a way, kind of, Amethyst is sort of like the troublemaker, Steven's kind of the good kid, Peridot's the, curious one. Amethyst has a new appreciation for kindergarten now that she's met more of herself in space, more of herself, more of her type in space, more Earth-based gems in space. She can actually go through and Amethyst's appreciation that she has for kindergarten is very infectious, and Peridot kind of starts educating her on some things. Peridot's really smart. It's just a reminder of how smart Peridot is when it comes to gem culture. But Peridot talks about how nothing can grow there. It's impossible, but in truth they find a single flower. And so they decide to try and turn kindergarten into a garden. Wow. Because they want to show Peridot that life can be renewed after tragedy. But it doesn't work, so Peridot has the world's biggest flip out over seeds not growing. And it turns out that the flower was actually a gem that attacks them. So Smoky Quartz shows up, Amethyst and Steven fuse to create Smoky Quartz, and they poof the flower gem. There's this really great quote, though, that Steven has, and this is such a beautiful quote. Even if there was nothing we can do for that one patch of land, there's still a whole earth blooming all around us. That is my favorite quote by far in the Steven universe so far. That quote really got me.
That is actually amazing.
That is a really good quote. And that summed up the whole episode. Like, that's it right there. And it's important to remember for within yourself as well. Just because you've gone through a bad spell, you've gone through a bad patch in your life, it doesn't mean that there isn't fresh life ahead of you. And I just think it's glorious. It was such a great... The theme of the episode was great. It dove into Peridot a lot. And it shows you, too, with again, going back to the kind of guy that Steven is, that he is this positive influence on people around him. And, I hopefully he maintains that. Hopefully he maintains the positivity that he has, because... he changed Peridot's life around again. This isn't the first time Steven's done this for Peridot or for anyone. It's a constant thing. But yeah, that quote is phenomenal. Easily the best quote in the whole show so far. If there's a better one, I'm going to be really surprised. That was solid 10 out of 10 quote. Super inspiring. Yeah, am I missing anything?
Yeah, that quote was Coach Yukai worthy.
Oh, yeah. That's how you know it's a good quote. That does sound like something Coach Yukai or Takeda would say. Anyways, great episode. Next episode was Sadie Killer. Sadie's in a band and Steven is dying. Just kidding, I said that backwards.
Wait, say it again? Steven's what?
Steven's in a band and Sadie's dying.
Thank God.
That's what I wrote. It turns out the donut shop can't open without Lars around if Sadie is sick. Sadie also is... I mean, think about it. Sadie lost Lars. Like, that's huge for her. Like, Lars was a huge part of her character and a huge part of her life, and he's gone. And she has to find a new passion in life, and Steven's there to save the day. So Steven's in a band with the cool kids, and, of course, quite a few episodes ago, I think it was the cool kids party episode, we talked about last episode, the good Lars, we find out that Sadie can sing. And we've known that for a while, Sadie can sing, but it was brought up again recently, in case you forgot. And Sadie decides to help them. They actually are in her house, in her room, and she starts this, like, super demonic horrorcore sound. But in the band, there's this great sound that she creates because she's super into horror and super depressed because Lars is gone, obviously. And she's working her life away in a donut shop. First of all, amazing, a donut shop? Hell yeah.
I know.
Second of all, understandable.
Relatable. Been there, done that.
So Sadie actually quits the Big Donut and decides to join the band full time, which is now called Sadie and the Killers.
Wait.
Yes.
Does the Big Donut shut down?
Yeah, who's running the donut? Because Lars isn't there. Sadie's not there.
I feel like Lion could run that pretty good.
I would totally go to a donut shop ran by Lion. Yeah. Maybe that'll give Mayor Dewey something to do now that he's not Mayor Dewey anymore. Anything else? I think this was good for Sadie. I think this was great. It's her chance to kind of discover who she is and move on with her life. You know, staying at the donut shop was just holding her back. Holding on to Lars was holding her back. And not that Lars and her can't meet up again at some point, but in the moment, like, she can't be stuck in that rut. So the band is it's perfect for her. It makes sense.
Can I just say something I forgot to mention about Lars being in space? Even though it's Steven Universe and he's already been brought back to life, because he was the only human, I say that with quotes because I don't know if he's human anymore, in space, how is he going to get back? How is he going to survive? Like, that's pretty crazy.
Well, we're going to find that out because in a couple episodes we have Lars of the Stars. But first, before we get to that answer to your question, we have to watch Kevin Party.
No, we don't, do we?
We do. So Kevin throws a party. Do you guys remember Kevin? Super, super horny for Stevani. That's like his whole thing. He wants to bang Stevani so bad. Well, he did. I don't know if he still does after the racing episode. No, Kevin's... Kevin. Okay, look, he throws a party and he wants to be cool, and he's like, Stevani makes things cool. So he invites Connie and Steven, without telling them, to the party. And this is the first time that Connie and Steven have had a chance to interact, and Steven takes all of Kevin's shitty advice on how to have Connie reconcile with him.
And that just goes to show you where Steven's at. If he's willing to take advice from anyone, including Kevin, like...
And Kevin and Steven have two totally different viewpoints on people, and especially girls, and someone as precious as Steven as Connie. So everything that Steven does is wrong. And Connie knows, too. Connie knows Steven. Like, their friendship is so strong, she's gonna know when something's weird. And so when Steven starts acting off, she's not about it. She's not going to put up with this stuff. She decides she's going to leave. Like, if you're going to treat me like this, if you're going to act like this, I'm out. Hell yeah, Connie, you show him what's up. Of course, Steven and Connie, though, now that they're finally face-to-face, do have that chance to reconcile, and which is huge. I thought that was great. I think it's about time, you know. I understand that it took a couple of episodes because they needed their time, but Connie and Steven need to be together. Like, it's that simple. So they're back together. Thanks, Kevin. You did something right for once. It's the only time I'm going to say that.
On to the next.
I don't even like saying thank you. Is there anything else to say? I think that I don't know if there's much to dive into, really. I mean, unless we wanted to talk about, like, Steven and Connie's fight, but I feel like we kind of were talking about that in the previous episodes, discussing the previous episodes.
Out of anyone, their relationship needs to stay solid. Like, Steven and the Crystal Gems might waver or something like that, but as long as he's with Connie, I feel like they have the most solid relationship.
Definitely. Agreed. Glad we're in agreement on that. Next episode is Lars of the Stars. So Lars has become Captain Harlock. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw him. Those of you old school anime fans out there, that was like totally a Captain Harlock look. So he's become a space pirate. Hell yeah, Lars. I love when Steven shows up. They hug. And to me, that was huge because Lars never would have hugged Steven in the past.
Oh, yeah.
He's done it. He's become that guy that I wanted him to be. He is the best friend. Thank you, Lars. Thank you, writers, for making it happen. Fantastic. I'm very happy about that. And I love the look. I love that he's out there in space. I'm a sci-fi geek. And this is now we have a way for Steven to get out there into the universe. Easily. He just goes into line and then pops out Lars' head. It's perfect. Lars is not having a good time, though. He misses Sadie a lot, and he's actually so focused on how much he misses Sadie. And Steven kind of tells him that Sadie's kind of moving on, and Lars is kind of like, what is wrong with you? I think for Lars, when you think about, he's never been upfront, I don't think even within his own self about his relationship with Sadie, which is obviously more than friends. But I think she was probably a driving force for him to get back to Earth. I'm sure he misses his parents and the big donut and the cool kids and all that stuff, but Sadie, I think, was the beacon for him, and that was made kind of clear in this episode. This was fun, though, because whoever storyboarded this episode must have had a really good time, because they get to have a freaking space battle.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. How awesome is that? Lars is out here stealing ships. He's trying to get away. He's a cocky little asshole. I love it. I love his attitude. I love that he is just like a little shit talker. Perfect. Lars, you're my favorite character now. Thank you. They get into a battle, and they have this craft. I can't remember what the name of the craft was called. But they do have a craft that Stevani goes into. Stevani, that's right. Stevani. Forgot to mention that Connie went with Steven. So Connie is there. They fuse to become Stevani. And they get into this craft, and they actually get shot down, which is pretty crazy. I mean, they've been shot down, and they are stranded. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna die. Oh my god. Of course they're not gonna die, because it's not the end of the show. Duh. The next episode, do you have anything to add about Lars and the stars? Lars of the Stars?
Did that have Emerald in it? So they took Emerald's ship. Yes,
that's who was chasing them.
And they're like, perfect, cool. That's all I had to say. I thought it was cool that because, I mean, you think about, we have Ruby and Sapphire. Okay, where's Emerald? Because I think of all those collectively. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah,
I remember way back in the day when I asked you what got you into Steven Universe, and you're like, I like gems.
You're like, what the
What's wrong with this guy? He likes
I'm
rocks.
an archaeologist.
I'm an archaeologist. I like gems. So of course you would think that. I never even thought about that.
I was waiting. I'm like, okay, we have a green gem finally, but it's Peridot. Like, where's Emerald? This isn't Emerald? Fuck.
The concerns that Isaac had. He's not like, oh my god, Lars is dead and lost in space. He's like, Emerald, yes! Oh my god, that's amazing. Next episode was Jungle Moon. Loved the backgrounds for this episode. It was awesome. Totally reminded me of a, 1950s, 1960s B sci-fi movie. Just brought me back to those kinds of things. Stevani ends up on a planet, though, and they get attacked by an alien, which looked like an angry bird. And no one can change my mind on that. First of all, what a unique... I love it because a lot of people, when they do alien designs, they try to go for the Lovecraftian type look or something super creepy and super vicious looking, but they went with an angry bird, which is super violent, gets cut in half by Stevani. What the heck? Straight up cut that thing in half. But it's okay because it flew away. It doesn't even really fly. Look, you have to see the episode because there's no way to explain the way this thing moves. Oh my gosh.
It does.
It does. You just gotta see it. It's something else. Stevani, they end up sleeping in a room. And in this room is, because they're stuck there. They're stranded there. And they find a building and they sleep in this room. So they end up in this building, which anytime you go to a building on an alien planet, it's probably a gem building. So, hello. They fall asleep and suddenly they're in Connie's mom.
They're inside Connie's mom.
And suddenly they're in Connie's house on the carpet, and then you hear this rumbling sound, and then just this fucking... and this giant Connie's mom's head talking on the phone, just sort of... First of all, you have to see the animation. It's probably the funniest freaking... I had to stop the episode and message Isaac because I was... I laughed for a solid 10 minutes. A whole episode of Steven Universe would have went by the time I finished laughing. So you're kind of like, what the hell's going on? Especially because Stevani is super small. And Stevani doesn't seem to think anything is off about this, so I'm thinking something's off about this. Number one, how did they get there? And why is Connie's mom a giant? And Connie's mom is on the phone, and it's not Connie's mom's voice. And it's talking about something completely different than what Connie's mom is, a doctor on Earth. And the stuff coming out of Connie's mom's mouth doesn't make a lot of sense. It turns out, because it wasn't really Connie's mom, it was Yellow Diamond. And I'm like, they're dreaming. Stefani ends up having a conversation with Yellow Diamond. Doesn't think anything's off about this. Stefani looks in the mirror, and Stefani is Pink Diamond. And if that isn't the biggest freaking flag I have ever seen in my life, that Steven is actually, maybe if he's his mom, then his mom must have been Pink Diamond. That to me was the first sign. Or is Connie Pink Diamond? Okay, but back on all seriousness. So yeah, Stefani looks in the mirror and sees Pink Diamond. So Stefani is reliving a memory that Pink Diamond had. And what's interesting about this is our first look into Pink Diamond as a character, because we've heard a lot about Pink Diamond. She's dead, R.I.P., shattered by the rose. It seems the attitude that you kind of get from this is that Pink was really immature and like sort of almost unhealthy and toxic with her personality, and Yellow is almost like the mom figure in a way. And so the dynamic was very interesting, but the big thing is, like, at least as far as I can think, I don't think we've ever seen Pink Diamond before. This is the first time, right?
Yeah. Besides that mural, but then that wasn't even really her because it's a mural.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the first time. And Stefani is living through this memory as Pink Diamond. What the fuck? Thoughts?
I think they tried to go for, at least in my opinion, almost like a childlike personality. Someone that's super immature, obviously super spoiled because she's the youngest of the Diamonds.
Is she really the youngest of the Diamonds? I didn't know that. Is that a spoiler?
That's a spoiler.
But it seems kind of obvious, so I don't think it's that much of a spoiler, just from an attitude perspective.
Yeah, and her whole costume is like it's like a tutu. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So it seems very childlike.
Definitely.
So you can understand why she has like tantrums. She breaks that mirror. Mm-hmm. She's like demanding things. So I thought that was kind of cool that they went for that approach, because up until this episode, I was kind of wondering how they're going to implement not just Pink Diamond, but like White Diamond as well, like how their personalities would be.
Definitely, because we've seen Blue Diamond and Yellow Diamond, and we definitely understand their personalities at this point.
They're drastically different, and I'm wondering if Pink Diamond is like this, will it be drastically different from White Diamond? Can we get an insight on what White Diamond would be?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you have the insignia, right?
And no, you're fine, because they're opposites of each other. Yeah.
So blue and yellow is obvious because they're right and left.
Yeah.
And then pink and white are opposites.
Yeah. I think that episode was huge. Huge. Yeah. Am I missing anything from that? We kind of were. Are we good?
Yeah.
So we're going to move on from that episode, and we'll talk more about that as the show progresses, because lots of implications coming from Jungle Moon.
Oh, actually, I did have to say something.
Go ahead. What's up?
If I remember correctly, this was... The dream that they had was a memory, I'm assuming, from Pink Diamond.
Yeah.
That was...
That's what I said.
I'm like trying not to spoil it, but I don't know.
Just say it.
You already said it. Her getting her first colony.
Yes.
And it was the moment you see her, she's wanting, it's implied that she had been alive for quite a bit. And this is the moment where you see her, she's wanting a colony. She's wanting to be more like her other diamond sister fisters.
Leaving that in. The Diamond Sister Fisters. Coming to a stage near you. Now on Broadway.
But I thought it was really cool because they give her the Earth. And they're like, this is your planet. This is the only one we're giving you because you're being a brat.
Yep.
You punched a mirror thing for it.
What a butthole. Get your shit together, Pink Diamond.
Yeah, get your shit together.
Before you get shattered. Next episode was Your Mother and Mine. So Garnet visits the Off-Colors, and while she's there, she tells Rose's story, and this was, this whole thing was narrated by Garnet. this, you know, we could go on about the story part of this episode, but I think the big thing with this episode was actually art direction. And what a unique way to do a flashback episode, to have Garnet tell the story. And she's telling it to the off-colors who don't know the truth about Rose Quartz because they've only heard what they've heard on Homeworld. And so Garnet's there to set the record straight. And the art direction is very unique. And it's just, it's so... I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a picture book, like someone reading you a picture book. Like, I'm just saying, Garnet's voice actress, please read me a story every night. I would go to sleep so fast. Such a comforting, soothing voice. She does a great job. Like, her voice actress just completely crushed this episode, which I'm sure was not an easy episode to do because it's not a normal form of voice acting. But the big thing is she does tell the story of Steven's mom and how she was allegedly... So, of course, talks about how Steven's mom started out as a regular Rose Quartz and really fell in love with the life of Earth and decided to rebel in order to protect Earth.
Oh, I just remembered what episode it was. This is amazing. I know you already said art director, whatever.
Oh, the art direction?
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think especially you could appreciate it as an artist yourself. Like, what a unique style.
I love the environments, how it goes from, like, sunny to, like, very dreary and drab, and it's just, like, so cool to see. Yeah,
definitely, and I think... Yeah, like, the way they did it with the art direction is they set the mood, because they couldn't rely on... traditional forms of storyboarding. They couldn't rely on traditional voice acting because they had one person telling the story. And so they went a very unique way. And it is hands down the best flashback episode I've probably ever seen in a show because they went that route instead of doing a traditional flashback episode. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would have, not a lot, because if they're wrong, I'm sure there's some people that would have preferred a more traditional backstory episode, but this, to me, is what makes Steven Universe a cut above the rest. Their ability to find unique ways to tell stories, and this is one of the most unique ways that they could have done this. So this was a 10 out of 10 episode. Like I said, yeah, it was big for the story because we get to see Garnet's version of what happened with who Rose Quartz was and what she meant to the Crystal Gems and what she meant to Earth and what she stood for. But more important than that was just the talent behind this unique episode.
Yeah, I gotta give it to the creators for this one. This was, like you said, 10 out of 10. I just loved how they were able to tell the story without having to be like, this is what's happening. Because you usually have those moments where characters are like, we're here, or like they say we're,
Yeah.
And I love how it shows them discovering different things about the Earth. But yeah, one of my favorite episodes too. It's Trial and this episode are up there.
Definitely, yeah, and that's the thing is I have to say that again, this is another batch of really, really solid episodes. There's so much happened in this batch that I love. I mean, all right, Dewey Wins I wasn't a big fan of. But, they dived into the relationship that Lapis and Peridot have. They showed us how much Amethyst has grown. They showed how much Steven has grown and back to the kindergarten, both Amethyst and Steven helping Peridot, which was huge for Peridot. And what a great message. Sadie is able to grow. Connie and Steven get back together. We see how Lars has become the bro that I always knew he could be. We had a space battle. We got the Jungle Moon episode, which was just a beautiful episode. And then... and of course had the insane dream sequence with Stevani as Pink Diamond, and then which is another unique way to do a flashback as well. And then right after that, we had Your Mother and Mine, which was the episode we were just talking about, which is another really unique episode with a unique flashback. So I mean, looking at this batch of episodes, this is a solid batch of 10 episodes. I don't think they wasted a lot of time. I think that every episode just felt like they were, balls to the wall, crazy with it. They are just putting everything they have into these episodes. They know that this show is ramping up to its climax, and they're not going to slow down. That is the feeling that I'm getting, and I love it. I really did love these episodes. I'm not just saying that to be nice. These were fantastic episodes. Some of the best episodes in this entire show, in my opinion.
Haikyuu stage play.
Yeah. So Isaac is going through that. He's going to watch 3 Haikyuu stage plays. Stage play.
And I'm pretty sure I watched the Karasuno Revival.
You did. You watched Karasuno Revival.
We're talking anime terms. This is where halfway through season 1, when they play Nekoma / Date Tech.
Yes. Two of their rivals.
Yes.
For sure. And for those of you that have not seen the stage plays, you should. They are crazy. They're just crazy. There's no other way to explain it. I went into the first stage play many years ago. How many years ago? Like 4 years ago now. Oh my god.
Wow.
So I know. I think the first one came out in 2016. Kind of a little closed-minded about it, but then I watched it and I was thoroughly impressed with some of the jokes they were able to pull out of their ass. So I became a fan. And then I'm now making Isaac watch it, so it's fair because...
I watched it.
He watched it. So this is the second one. The second stage play, I let him pick from 7 of the stage plays, and the first one that he decided to watch was Karasuno Revival. So,
yes.
Talk to us about Karasuno Revival.
So, behind Jackie is actually a whole door that also acts as a chalkboard.
Yes, I have a chalkboard in my kitchen.
So, before I watched this stage play, she wrote down all of the stage plays that there are making, I'm pretty sure.
No, I don't have the 2 that aren't. It's just the ones that are available on DVD so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the one that stood out to me first was Karasuno Revival, because I don't know about you guys, but I am a fan of Nekoma and Date Tech.
Yeah, it's hard not to be. They're the first, big bads, really.
And one of my favorite characters, Asahi, had to face the Iron Wall, so...
And that's a great moment in the story, too, because that's the first time that, in my opinion anyways, is the first big, character arc in Haikyuu is actually Asahi's.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
But yeah, the stage play starts out, I'm not going to say just like the anime, because it's the same, but it's not. It's a different feel, but it's still amazing.
It's very campy. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it somehow manages to get the really dramatic moments across in kind of a more personal way, I would say.
Yeah. Because it's real people acting it out. But I just love how they're able to do all these things that the anime could do, that the manga could do, and even add in things for their own sake, not part of the anime or manga,
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so what do you think about the casting?
Oh, the casting.
Because, we're taking characters that are anime characters, and we need to somehow make them appear real without it appearing too campy, so...
Literally could not have done a better job. Coach Yukai is literally Coach Yukai.
Yeah. And this was the second one, so this is back when we still had... Tatsunari as Kageyama, for those of you that keep track. So that was, it was quite a few years ago that this play came out, actually. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they, I don't know how they did that. Just everything, from the costumes, the wigs, the makeup, the actors, it all comes together and it feels like Haikyuu.
Yeah, I think that's
it doesn't
the big
feel
thing.
like people are just putting together something for the sake of Haikyuu. It feels like it's actually Haikyuu.
Yeah, you can feel the passion behind the project, which is huge. If you're going to do something like a stage play, we're talking about joking about a Steven Universe stage play, but if you could pull something like that off, all you really need is to believe in the source material and believe in that story and those characters, and you can make it happen. Believe in Steven. Believe in Steven 2020.
One thing that really hooked me in from the very beginning, Kenma.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, you're a Kenma fan already.
He's just kind of standing there.
Oh, when he was playing his game?
Anything he does is perfect because it's Kenma. I'm a Kenma stan. Just kidding.
You totally are a Kenma stan.
No,
yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
That's staying.
I'm not a Kenma stan.
Isaac's a Kenma stan.
Jackie's a Nekomata stan. That's staying in.
I stan Nekomata. Young Nekomata when he was a handsome guy. I'm leaving him when he gets old. Kenma's actor does such a... We were just talking about it before I clicked record, actually.
All he has to do is just do that slouch. I try to slouch. I'm already slouching.
All he has to do is be Isaac.
Just be me. How does one embody a character that has no emotion? Does that make sense? It's easier.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be easier. I've never acted, though, to kind of get in the mindset of a character with emotion, because now you have all these things you can do with emotion, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas when you have a character without emotion, it's just kind of whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think you look at it from the perspective of, like, someone who's opposite of Kenma is Tanaka. And Tanaka's actor is so, like, bouncing. He is Tanaka. Like, is crazy. And he is bouncing off the walls and, you know, starting fights. Just being Tanaka. And that's not who he is in real life. Like, he's completely different. And then on the other side, you have, you know, Kenma, who is so low energy and doesn't want to be in the center of everything and doesn't want to start stuff and doesn't want to be social. But you have these actors that come on stage and they just become those characters. And the acting is really good. People that tell me that the acting's bad for these, they don't understand.
Who said that?
People that are dumb. I'm a huge fan of stage productions. I have been my whole life. I love Broadway shows and stuff like that. And these actors really did a great job.
And see, I'm going into this. I have never watched a stage play in my life. I don't really care about Broadway or anything like that. But I still loved the stage play.
Yeah, well, and I think they do a good job of... The thing with the stage plays, if you're a Haikyuu fan, you're going to love them. Unless you go into it with a negative mindset or it's not cool enough for you or whatever. Which it's your loss at that point, because they're amazing. The actors, their athletic talent is second to none. Some of the stuff they do is insane. I mean, they're up there running around, jumping, doing flips and cartwheels and all kinds of weird crap and handsprings and for 2 hours and doing real volleyball moves. Like, they had to learn how to play volleyball and dance and do acrobatics. I mean, it's pretty talented. I will say,
not just the acrobatics, but the projection and the way that they kind of show them setting a ball or hitting a ball without a ball actually being there.
Definitely.
Is so cool. They'd have a character go to one side of the court and it would just be like from the bottom, from the ground, it would be a shadow of a ball like slowly getting closer to them. And when they would hit the ball, the shadow would, like, go out. Yeah. So it's obviously like, oh, they just set a ball or something.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it such a unique production, too, is they do have that projection. It's actually called, like, hyper projections.
Astral projection.
Yeah, astral projection. And the thing is that they have to be so spot on with their choreography, because if you're off, everyone's going to know. Like, you're going to be off from the projection behind you, and you have to be on point every single night that you do that, and that's hard.
You have to be on fleek.
On fleek. There are some points where you don't have to be, and that was the scene we were talking about earlier where they were swapping the rooms back and forth without actually changing the scene.
That was so cool. So it would be Nekoma in what I'm assuming is like their
room for the night, their training camp room that they're sleeping in.
And when it's transitioning to Krasno's room, all they do is literally... Okay, so they bring out these blankets. Under these blankets the whole time was Krasno player, like the Krasno cast.
And you didn't know that, did you?
And no, I didn't know that. I wasn't even looking at the blankets. And then all of a sudden, when they're switching to Krasno's cast, Nekoma puts the blanket over themselves only to reveal Krasno. You're like, what? Like, that's amazing, but what? Yeah. Like, that's an interesting but cool way to... sort of utilize blankets, props.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that that's one of the fun things about stage productions is we're going from animation where your options are unlimited.
Literally,
you can do anything. You just have to draw it, and it's there.
Sky is the limit.
It's the same production cost to draw a starship as it is to draw an automobile. But then when you're in a production, a live stage production, how do you make this swapping rooms happen with minimal budget? You just get some blankets. Like, it's genius.
Who thought of that? Like, that is amazing.
It's genius.
Jackie and Isaac agree over.
Oh my god, blankets! I thought that's one of my... I think that's one of the most clever transitions that I've seen in a play. I really like that, too, for sure.
Tsukishima, perfect. Like, the actor for him was perfect. He did not care.
He does such a good job. You should see the curtain calls when he cries. He's an emotional guy, and at the end of the production, he's just like in tears, like he can't believe the production. I'll have to show you one. I'll show you a good one of him crying.
The only one I felt like didn't really look like their character was Tadashi.
Oh yeah, well Tadashi's kind of a hard character, I think.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about in terms of, because the thing with Haikyuu is a lot of the characters look real. Mm-hmm. That sounds stupid. That might be confusing for some of you non-anime watchers out there, but You look at the character designs for Haikyuu, and it's very easy to imagine them as real people. Tadashi's one of the ones where I've always kind of been like, okay, but how does his features translate into a person? I think the actor does a phenomenal job as Tadashi, but I can see, like, how do you make that hair look not fake? Not like, which you didn't get to see the anime hair in Date Tech guy.
Thank God.
Rooster head. Yeah. Oh, you did see some Date Tech though, like no brows. I love when
no
Karasuno comes in. They come in and they come in through the crowd, and when they get to the front of the stage, you can see no brows. And Hinata's actor Kenta Suga turns to just some random chick in the audience and was like, "He has no eyebrows." She's probably like, "What the fuck, dude?" He's screeching it at her.
I would love, like, imagine if that was you he was screeching at. Like, 10 out of 10 would be the best stage play ever.
Yep. I'd die after that if he, like, did it. He even hands this, like, little flip phone to some random chick in the States, in the stands, and you guys like, no, give it back. Yep.
Oh, and then there's just this constant Oikawa and Oizumi banter with, like, these metal bars.
Oh, yeah.
They're just going back and forth and saying, like, random shit.
Yeah, sometimes I was like, what are you? This isn't even relevant.
That's another thing about stage plays is we talk about, like, having to be, like, perfect with acrobats and acrobatics and all that stuff, but there's other times where they can just goof off. Like, I watched it from kind of a cinematic standpoint, but obviously there's another version of it where you're watching all of it, and it's just like, I mean, Jackie said she's watched all of them how many times just to understand what's going on?
Just to see all the shenanigans in the background, because when you get all of those people on stage, there is shenanigans going on when they pair off. They're playing around with each other, causing havoc, making jokes and stuff, and it's pretty fun to see that aspect of it too.
I did get a sneak peek though for another one where Kuro and Kenma were dressed up as girls. Oh yeah.
those winners and losers. And Kuro's actor pulls the brain off. His actor fucks up so much. I don't know how he keeps getting away with it. Just remembering him pulling it off and being like, "Ah!"
The introduction, amazing.
Great. The character introduction's phenomenal. Like,
I don't even know where you begin to write that, to direct that.
Whoever came up with the choreography and stuff, and the music is phenomenal too. Whoever just all of it together is just it's amazing.
That was like divine intervention for that whole team to get together.
Yeah, for real.
Like, the universe wanted this to happen.
And obviously they've been successful. I mean, they're about the 9th. No, actually, it's technically the 10th, because the first play was done twice. Because the first run ended up being popular. They did another run of it, and then they started making sequels. So we're actually technically 10 different unique runs at this point, 4 years later. How phenomenal is that?
Which is so inspiring. Like, if you have a dream for a show or a cartoon, whatever you want to do, like business, whatever, it just shows you that you can implement it not only in one specific way, but multiple genres, multiple avenues of creativity. Like, it inspires that creative flame, I guess, in, I feel like, creative people.
Definitely. And I think something like Haikyuu, anime stage plays are becoming popular. I typically actually don't like them, which is why it's surprising that I really like the Haikyuu ones. And I think it goes to show you that, when Haikyuu first came out, no one in their right mind thought this is going to be a successful stage play. That wasn't something, sure, in anime. Even then, I don't think anyone was prepared for its level of success, but especially a stage play. And like I said, they're becoming more popular in the anime world, but to get the right people together the way they did is really hard to do. So, how'd you feel about Date Tech?
I was just gonna get into that.
So I know you're a huge Date Tech. Oh, let's go to actually, I want to ask how you felt about the way they did Asahi's, like, kind of flashback trauma with, like, the red lighting and.
Oh, that was awesome, because correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was other people on the court at the beginning, but they kind of single him out with the projecting and lighting. And like you said, they do that color shift into red. And it really, like, there's no talking going on whatsoever. I mean, a few screams here and there, but it's mostly just directing and choreography. And that's really cool how they're able to put you in the mindset of Asahi just through that.
Yeah.
You know? Date tech, amazing. The costumes.
Yes. What about them?
10 out of 10.
Oh, great. I want them. I want the costumes.
Jackie wants all the costumes, so if anyone has any...
Send them my way, thank you.
Also, I can't believe they found an actor with that big of thighs.
Okay, Thunder Thighs?
Like,
wait,
that
you need
is...
a live-action Garnet. We found her.
Imagine if it's live-action Garnet. Steven, jump through my thighs!
This is all saying it.
Rotating stage.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Again, who thought of that?
I know, what a weird thing to put in. But it's amazing how it assists with the way... It assists with the atmosphere in so many different ways. And they do a lot of miming in it as well. So there's moments where everything around them will stop. And whatever pose they're in, they're stuck in that pose. But then that stage is moving. And so it creates a sense of movement, but also a sense of almost like time is standing still.
Yeah.
So they can get that anime, quote unquote, feel where people can stop and think about what they're doing. And it looks like everything around them has stopped. So...
I really love when they're playing these games, like, for instance, the Date Tech Crossno game, and they're on that moving stage. You can see what's happening on each side of the court at all times because it's constantly rotating.
Yeah.
I don't know how they keep their balance.
It's a lot of talent.
Like, sometimes the stage is, super on, I don't even know what you call that. Incline is so high.
Oh, I think it's interesting how sometimes they do things a little different, and we were talking about this. I don't remember this scene being in the anime. It's been a while since I've read this part in the manga, but I love that there was, towards the end of the Date Tech match, the game stops, and Kageyama goes to Oikawa and says, "There was a time when I would have thought, what would you do in this situation, but now I think for myself, more or less." And, of course, Oikawa and Kageyama have a little glare at each other before Oikawa?
Owie! Oikawa.
They have a little glare at each other before Oikawa's actor runs off. But for me, that was huge because one of the things that's really interesting to me is the little, rivalry / mentorship that's between the two of them, because everything Kageyama knows about volleyball, he learned from Oikawa. It's what Kageyama himself says. And for the first time, Kageyama is showing that growth. And he's more focused on... He's truly becoming himself. And that's the beginning of that match.
Yeah. It's interesting to see because it's something I wasn't really paying attention to in season 1 of the anime.
Yeah, well, at that point, too, obviously, Hoikawa and Kageyama didn't interact in the middle of that match. But, but for you, your first time watching Haikyuu through, you're not thinking about Oikawa when they're playing Date Tech. Date Tech's this massive mountain that they have to cross before you can even remotely think about Aoba Josai. Yeah.
I was like, what's gonna top this?
Little did you know.
Was I super naive to this show. I love how they're able to take another form of media and do the exact same thing, but it's different. I don't know how else to explain it.
You're right. It's the same theme, the same message, the same story, the same characters, but there's something.
It's a different feel. Is what I should say.
Yeah, it's a different feel, and I think I talked to you about this before. That for me, I got something different about each character in the manga, the anime, and the stage play. And being able to put all that together created a more complete profile, I think, on these characters.
Yeah.
A little bit more depth is added each time.
Yeah, you get more layers and more insight, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Especially with stage plays because they're real people. Yeah,
it's easier to connect with something that's real than it is with something that's... As much as I love comics and animation, that's just the truth, And a good story is a good story no matter what.
So if your favorite character fucks up on the stage play, you might not like them anymore because...
they fucked up.
They ruined the character. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's another thing. Oikawa's actor was literally... It was really creepy to watch because it's you take the anime and you put it into real life.
They literally found Oikawa.
I don't... even the way the hair was laying and the little, I don't know how they did that. I'm really excited to see other stage plays. The next one I want to watch, I think it was... Was it...
Strongest Team.
Strongest Team.
So it's going to be the games against... from the second season.
That's going to be jam-packed.
It's intense. I'm just gonna say it's interesting. This is the big thing with these stage plays is they started off, they still had their serious moments, but they felt like because it was like they didn't feel as serious in the beginning, and then as it went along, it like became more and more serious. There's still like their goofy moments in there, but it feels more like emotionally driven. Not that there's not emotions in the other ones. It's just the other ones felt a little more like they had more gags and stuff in them.
Well, and it's hard not to add emotion specifically to this material because it's like this is the most emotional games ever, I feel like, in the series.
Yeah, so definitely that you've seen, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree with that.
Outside of the manga, I should say, because a lot happens, I know, in the manga.
Yeah, you'll get there.
For anyone that is a fan of Haikyuu, currently watching, already watched it, but hasn't watched the stage plays yet, I highly recommend them. It's just another form of Haikyuu, and who wouldn't want to watch that?
Yeah, and you're just going to fall in love with the characters all over again.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that, for sure. But yeah, you did it. You made it through one stage play.
I did it.
It's amazing. But yeah, so we will be doing
Connie's mom's head on...
We're going to be doing Connie's mom's head? Oh my god. We are going to be doing... I will be doing another 10 episodes of Steven Universe, and Isaac...
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And I almost called you Steven.
Steven will be doing...
Next week, I will be watching another 10 episodes of Steven Universe, and Isaac will be watching Strongest Team Haikyuu stage play.
Yes.
So we will come back and talk about some of these great stories. Oh, and we're doing a ship episode too. It is coming out before that episode comes out. Our ship episode will be here. We're doing a ship episode for the person who asked for it.
Yes.
Remember, if you ask us for something, try and do it to us on our Twitter, because if I don't see it, I'm not going to remember to do it. And this was actually through a review on iTunes. Thank you for the review. But yes, let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll talk about it. And that's it. My name's Jackie. I've been watching Steven Universe.
My name's Isaac. I've been watching Haikyuu.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Bye.
Bye.